Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind, and I got a haircut. As you guys were saying, sometimes you got to look fresh when you have a fresh new team. And we're just about there. So, yeah, we made a trade. Messiah actually woke up, fired up the old Blackberry, plugged it in. I actually have a Bold somewhere around here, actually, legitimately. So I know what it's like. The other day I fired it up, made sure that it's still charged. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's still, the keyboard and everything works. Oh, cool. Right? That's what he did. And much to the chagrin of some, it was OG Anunoby. I've been saying this, you've been saying this, you've been saying that, and that in terms of Beyond and Coach who are joining me today, that we kind of thought that OG would go first. I think that we've been saying this since the start of the season because just like how the reports have come out since, a la Jake Fisher, who everyone is like Cap, what we're hearing is he went to New York because he made it clear to his agent and multiple agents that guess what? He wants to A, get paid $40 million to play here, and B, he wants more playmaking and role responsibilities in an offense, which he was not getting here. He actually had slightly less. I think he had 19.5% usage. Last year, he's 19.3. Ain't too much difference. And we noticed that since preseason. So, before we get into the OG trade, we want to talk about, a quick little recap of the week. Because it's been an interesting week in Raptors fan. Hope everyone's okay. Hope Christmas was, or holidays or whatever people celebrate was good, and people are safe and having fun and all that to the best of their ability. So, with that being said, how are you guys doing? Sorry for the long introduction, and then we'll just get right into it.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling actually the most optimistic I've felt in years when it comes to this team. And in life, in this case here, overall, man, I got health and happiness in the family. That side's been great. So I got no issues with that. As far as what's here on the hardwood, as I like to say, boy, we finally got something in the stocking worth talking about, boy. I'm all over it.
Yeah, we were talking about switching up just to more NBA and less Raptor
Yeah,
stuff. But we're back, people.
never left.
Yeah, every time I try to get out, they pull me back in. Um, hopefully enough of our of our audience gets that reference. Whether you like The Sopranos or the OG Godfather. So we won two, and this is filmed after the Pistons game. We didn't get a pizza party, and we ain't stopping at Wingstop even though it's free. So,
Lost to.
oh, true. Wait, one
Yeah.
second. Hold on. I'm
You
looking.
were so sure we were gonna win
Yeah.
tonight.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So Freudian slip. My mind, we won. We did not. It was a tough loss against Boston. That's true. And it was a tough loss against the Pistons. I think the Pistons loss was much tougher. Boston was interesting because it was kind of the tale of two halves in terms of how they played. They were starting this 0.5, initiate the ball with Jakob and all this kind of crap. And again, I'm not going to say people's names. I'm going to say I had a conversation with someone that was telling me that Joel Embiid doesn't know how to guard Jakob Pertl, and then we saw how Sam Hauser guarded him, and it was the same. He was getting the ball at the 3-point line, and he was guarding him at some points in the circle. There's a reason for that. That's not by accident. I think Joel Embiid, who's been on an all defensive team, I think he knows how to play. So, I think now that that's being exposed, I don't know if there's anything good, bad, and ugly. Just don't know all one go that you guys want to talk about in terms of the Raptors week. We did get a win, obviously, against the Wizards, so definitely no pizza party.
Honestly, the three games pretty much sum up the week. Actually, good, bad, and ugly. Washington, good. Boston, bad, and Detroit, Motown, ugly. There we go. That's pretty much it. Got progressively worse as the week went on.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
Do you have any takeaways yourself, Coach? I've one after you're done.
That one too.
Yeah. I really don't have one. I think Beyond pretty much summed it up perfect. It was Washington, good, to be expected. Boston should have got that. Detroit should have got that. But yep, good, bad, ugly. Good way to put it.
So, with Scotty now taking more of the reins, I think it's important to talk about how his game mimicked those things in terms of the three games that happened this week. The Washington game, in my opinion, was one of his better games. I'm not looking at the exact, breakdown, but from what I remember, he got to the line, he was aggressive, he got inside, he played a diversified game, right? He did his 3 point stuff, but he also got in the mix. Really good rebounding game from what I could remember, and he played really really well. Yeah, 12 rebounds, 20 points, 8 assists, and that was also the game that I believe Pascal had 11 assists. It was a really good game by everyone really, but Scottie Barnes especially, really good game. The next game in Boston, I think a lot of people give him a lot of credit, and I do too. He did hit his outside shots, but some of these shots, again, can't say who, but people were messaging me like, does he think he's Dame? Kind of a thing. Like it's like, look, I get it, you could shoot, but that game in Boston without Porzingis, and I don't really remember Horford being out there a lot either. It was a game that you had a chance to really attack the rim and get to the line much more often than he did. And there was really only one person that did that. We don't have to talk about that person because we talk about them all the time, but they know who they are because they're one of the most consistent players this year since, let's say, at least for the past month and a half. So the Detroit game, just to sum this all up, this is a game where, yes, I understand his best friend and stuff like that is missing and gone, still alive. But at the end of the day, like if you're gonna be the man, if people are saying Mamba mentality, Mamba didn't take no days off, right? Mamba went in, scored 81, looked like me. Didn't break us, didn't break a smile, barely. Well, he did break a sweat, and you just barely even celebrated the whole game. He wasn't and looking back and no, he just went to work and went home, right? That's when you know a dude's cold, right? OG, to his credit, when he hit that shot in the bubble where he just and then walked off, he literally walked, like finally, like he needs to stretch or something, like lurch, you know. Fair enough, but that was cold, and like he said, I don't shoot trying to miss. You got to come with that type of mentality, especially if you're going to be the leader of the franchise. So he does need to be better. I don't want to give him too much flack. Obviously, overall in the year, he is improved. But if you want to be an all-star, you can't be losing and breaking streaks to Detroit. So I'll leave it at that. With that being said, we're just going to get into the thing of the hour, the trade. I think it was a very interesting trade. So, um, Beyond, I'll go to you first. When did you first hear about the trade, and what went through your mind? Because this is always interesting.
I was scrolling through the old Bird app, as they used to call it. And I'm just going through there, checking out some stuff. I was actually checking out some news about Russell Wilson and all what's falling out with the Broncos.
Mm.
And lo and behold, all of a sudden I see a New York Knicks space pop out of the blue. OG trade? I'm like, what is this? I said, go into the spaces. I hear Knicks fans going on and going crazy. I check out the Jumbotron from them, and all I see is Woj bomb sitting right in my face. Boom, with a big poster. OG trade to Knicks. I'm like, what? I got on the horn to you and Coach. And I was like, yo, man, we got to do an emergency pod. We got news to talk about because I couldn't believe it. I was like, I had to read through this, right? And as we were talking, more information was coming out with the deal. It's like, oh, just before I called you, I found out Precious is part of the deal and kept on getting better. My Christmas kept getting better. By the time we finished having our discussion, you told me Flynn's part of the deal. I'm like, get out here. We knew about the deal. Then we heard about the draft pick. I'm like, what? My face was getting bigger. The Grinch what comes up like that, that was me, boy. My ears popping like, I was feeling
Yeah.
so. Woo, look, man. I mean, I'll do the obligatory. OG's been a good Raptor. I've had no issue with OG as far as him being a good Raptor, but I think the time had come. I felt the time had come from 2 years ago. I think in some ways you could say this deal could have been made a year ago. All the elements that are now here that forced this deal were sitting there a year ago. RJ and Tibbs were at it from time. We heard rumors about them in practices. Quickley, in this case, wasn't getting his money, and he was not going to get the start. Obviously, with Brunson there, that ain't changed since last year. OG was not pleased in this case. It was his role last year. It didn't get, as you just said before, it didn't get any better this year. So and by the way, Preston and Flynn are still Preston and Flynn. So none of these factors had changed a year ago. And so you sit there going like, really? We could have done this a year ago. And maybe the difference would have been we got a few more picks out of it too, maybe. But hey, I am quite happy.
You take the win where you get it, like the Raptors have been lately.
If I get myself two guys that are going to start, that are young players, and I get myself a draft pick that's essentially a low end first round pick because it's the most treasured second round pick next year. It's the Piston second round pick. Now we didn't help their cause today, but hey,
hey man, they got a long ways to go to improve that pick.
There's a gap.
Win 3 today.
Yeah. So I say to myself, hey, it's about time, guys. I'm glad you woke up from your slumber, Messiah and Bobby. Good job. That's good. Great. They finally did their stuff, and I am very pleased with that and excited to see what the possibilities could be moving forward.
Yeah, it's Coach.
Where were you, Coach?
Where were you, Coach?
Well, it's been a long day. So I was on a plane from Halifax to Toronto. And as I land, I turn my phone on and I get a message from my guy, Durham DJ. I'm going to give him a shout out. And he goes, Coach, OG goes to the Knicks. And I'm just like, I almost yelled on the plane. I was like, what? And I'm looking at the deal. I'm saying, let me get this straight. We got rid of OG, Precious Achiuwa, and Flynn, and we got back RJ Barrett. We got Quickley too, and we get a pick. If you squint hard enough, that's basically a first round pick. We get all of that in the deal back. I'm like, wow. Barrett's under control for the next 3 years. He's Canadian, 38% corner shooter. I think he's 35% on catch and shoot. And don't get me wrong, he's a little hot and cold at times. I get that. But Quickley is the main one for me in this deal. So yeah, I had landed. I did not see Precious Achiuwa or Malachi Flynn at the airport. I was looking for them, but they were not there. So just shocked because Masai glowingly spoke about OG, how he'd have a team of OGs if he could. I figured Siakam was going to go before OG, and I thought about it as well as OG. If they were playing the timeline game, OG's more in line with Scottie's timeline, stuff like that. But this has been brewing for a couple of years now. He's never been committed. We've always heard rumblings from Clutch when he was with them about he wants a bigger role and stuff like that. You saw it in Nick Nurse's book, I believe, as well, about OG and Fred in particular. I wasn't too happy playing with Fred, and he wants a bigger role. This has been coming for a long time. I'm shocked that they got as much as they did back for a guy who's expiring in about 4 months. And a guy literally who could leave the Knicks in 4 months if this was to go really bad. I don't think so. I think he'll stay. I think he's a decent fit with Brunson and Randall. But if he's looking for that bigger role, got some news for you. Brunson and Randall like to have the ball a lot. Kind of like Siakam and Scottie, or Siakam and Schroeder, or Scottie and Schroeder, if you want to put it that way. So, and just like what Beyond said as well, look, OG can start on any team in this league. He's that good. He is the perfect guy you want to get to put in a starting lineup. That's the piece that you need to raise kind of your ceiling. That's what I think OG is for a contending team. And I'm excited for this move. It's a guard-driven league. We finally get a young guard, moving forward for a variety of reasons that fits what this team needs and fits with its star moving forward. Hopefully, a couple stars.
I don't even know where to start with this one. I think it's always interesting. I'll actually go back to a little bit to this game before moving forward. When you see who is stepping up in press conferences and when to speak. After a game like today, again, it's your team. Pascal Siakam actually spoke, and he stepped up. Right? Doesn't seem like someone who's about to be going when he says we need to be better, we need to do better. I don't remember the last time OG spoke in a presser because most of the time it was for like literally 2-3 minutes at a time. I remember scrolling the Bird app, as you call it, and it was Shams, and the first thing that I was thinking was, is this fake? Okay, we know what happened, right? Or I said, is this a draft that he didn't, or what happened, right? Because we saw that happen a couple of times this year. For one, recently with Ohtani, in non-Raptors news, but for Raptors news with Dame, I said, like, I didn't even know what happened. All of a sudden, I was on Real GM for a second. It's like, oh, we got it. And I'm like, looking, I'm like, where is this tweet? And then all of a sudden, it's like, he deleted it. It's like, oh my gosh. So I actually saw Shams, not Woj. Yes. Right? And I was like, nah, there ain't no way. I don't believe this. And I even messaged under if someone I said, is this the real Shams? Because I didn't know, because people could pay the $5, get the thing. You hear NBA Centel, or it's gotten me, it's gotten Coach a couple times. You say, oh, is that Zion fight? It's some other dude, some random video, some dude that, so, okay. So
there's a Woj one that looks kind of like Woj, but
yes.
I was double checking the thing too in the jumbotron just in case, like, is it the right one? Woj ESPN.
Exactly. So, I think it's just one of those things that I think it happened at a very interesting time. It was very early. Usually these tweets happen after games. You would have thought that it would have happened after a game. And by the way, if you guys see some other news that happens or anything like that, let me know. You never know. We'll break it here for you people. But yeah, then as you were saying, we were talking, and all of a sudden we're just saying, okay, and guess what? Precious is part of the deal. Okay, all right. Oh, and Flynn. Oh, and so it's like it was not the best deal in hindsight compared to some of the other things that you could have done, right? But at the same time, overall, I thought it was, for right now in the situation that we're in, I thought it was a pretty good deal. I also, before we go and break into the deal,
I do have some breaking news, actually. So I related to this. ESPN story on Knicks. This is Woj again. Guard Miles McBride landing a $13 million contract extension. So the money that was quickly went take, McBride's getting it.
Gone.
It's gone.
He's their backup point guard now.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder what happens to Flynn in New York, because he's got to ship up or shape out, or shape up or ship out. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's put it this way: from my New York correspondent, which is my father, folks, in this case, he's already got the bags packed up to say that way.
Well, man, he went from
It's making it sound like a granddad in The Simpsons.
Yeah, my father's already got Flynn's bags.
Man, he just doesn't escape.
My father, just to give a Knicks perspective, my father is so irate about this deal. I came into his house there. He swore I would be coming in laughing, coming in. He goes, he cannot believe what the Knicks did.
Knicks fans aren't happy.
No, he's beside himself. He is so upset, man. He can't believe.
They really like Quickley.
He like both guys, man. He's sitting there going, there was, to his point, and he's right. There's a bit of a civil war going on amongst the Knicks roster.
Yes.
There's I will call them the Nova clan in this case here, and then there's everybody else. And if you're not part of the Nova clan in some form or fashion, you're gonna be looking out.
I have noticed that actually. Yeah, I don't know where McBride is from, but yeah, it's like because it was strange. Like the second they got, I think Hart, and Hart's not from Nova. Last time I checked, I don't think. And then all of a sudden they got
Yeah, he
like
is.
he is. Oh, he
He
is.
would play
Okay.
Villanova. Him and DiVincenzo and Brunson all played together.
Okay, because I know DiVincenzo did, but yeah. Okay, then never mind. Never mind. I was gonna make a point about that
Oh
because I was
no,
gonna say,
they're triumphant. If you're not part of that crew, it's almost like a gang mentality. If you ain't part of that crew, seems like your minutes ain't gonna happen. Because my father would say, like, listen, RJ will have 17 and a half and it end up with 20 for the game. And he ain't seen the ball pretty much the whole second half of the game. Quickly, we know the minute standpoint when it comes to Brunson. He ain't getting to see those minutes. And at some points during the season, DiVincenzo and Hart were playing more backup minutes than him at times. In this case here, as far as like getting minutes with the starters. So yeah, I think that had to get resolved at some point in New York. So sometimes it might be an addition by subtraction in this case here to kind of keep the peace with the group they want. And then, of course, there's machinations of CAA connections in this case when it comes to OG, which is another element of this.
of course.
Please, sir, sorry, I didn't want to give you a type of breaking news.
No, that's important. That's important. I can't remember where I was going with this.
No, we were talking about like Flynn and Nick Nurse,
right?
And he goes to Darko, complete opposite personality. And now he's going back to He's going to Thibodeau, which is Nurse 2.0.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be
it's.
Did he go with the PDF of any synergy data?
This all comes back to this synergy data, man. We just get it on RJ and Quickley, and it's like, come on in.
Or maybe that's how we knew to, okay, Quickley's good.
Isn't it such an indictment? Like, seriously, isn't this such an indictment on Darko, this front office?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I can't remember who posted it today. I think it was Pascal Propaganda. I don't know who was. It was someone, I don't know, it was Free Pascal. Someone made the point about all the things related to these guys we want, they were supposed to do this year, right? And of course, in this case, build up Flynn, and Flynn's going to be a good quality backup point guard. How precious is going to be a playmaker and part of an offensive hub. OG in this case here, make OG in this case a better player, in whatever form or fashion. And it all became a big failure.
OG got a little better. He was driving and not bouncing the ball off his foot 5 times a game.
Well, the reason why is because that's the one thing that was so noticeable. Darko cut that immediately. That's the one thing Darko got right from a role definition standpoint. You don't do anything besides shoot threes and do closeouts. Literally,
just got in the gym. No, bad.
So everyone thinks that OG's lack clumsiness has improved, or lack of company, or guess what is it? What do you call it? His skill level has gotten better, so he doesn't dribble out the foot. All it was that Darko just reduced it. So it's not as if it was any better. He just reduced the opportunities for it to mess up. That's all. Because he didn't have those classic, I'm dribbling, pull up 17 footers, and then something goes wrong, or I'm here stumbling in there for a post up move that takes like 20 minutes to get done. So
but for every good that Darko did like that, it's like all of a sudden, and yet Precious Achua is running around, like he has braces on his foot, falling over his feet and stuff like that, trying to make a layup.
Yeah. The indictment is so bad. It's like you guys are pushing these guys to 30 games in our face every night for 20 minutes each for at least the 2 backup guys, and they get talked in the deal now.
It's funny. This is like the second deal that Precious has been like tossed in, because he was like reportedly like part of the Dame deal too. So,
like, please, don't forget you got tossed in with Miami, as I said before.
Yes,
we're gonna sign and trade, and they say no, you can take the 1st round pick, please have him.
Yeah, I keep reminding people, don't worry, we were gonna get another Precious and KZ Okipala, right? Like, so don't let Messiah off the hook just yet.
They're waiting for Darius Walker. Don't worry about it.
Oh gosh, that's the other thing. Do you want to get to the Siakam part of it, or do you want to continue?
No, let's explore this before we get to Siakam. Right? Let's look at what this lineup looks like now with Siakam here, because I know everyone's got.
So based on Darko being here, it's going to be Dennis thing, right?
Can you imagine in Cleveland? I see Shooter out there in the starting lineup. I have to drink something real strong if I see that, bro. Oh my god!
People are gonna riot. People are gonna riot.
You might.
Yeah,
You
I
might
know we
find
might.
that.
I'm not. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
I'm
possibility.
actually
People.
being no, but I'm saying it from this perspective too, and I don't agree with it. But there's that coaching aspect where, oh, you just arrived. Dennis knows the offense, so you're gonna watch the offense this
Like,
game.
People
Like
talk about
they
this
might
like
split
it's
minutes,
algebra,
but
man. It's playing
well,
basketball.
I
you
know.
haven't seen his
I
his whiteboard, man. It could be
Right.
like, you
Yes,
know,
because we have this great sophisticated offense, right?
and then all of a sudden it's just like I don't understand what he said. Did you? It's like nah. It's like okay, let's just run out there. Maybe that's what it is.
You know what, Coach? You know what? You speak with such sense that I can see it coming. Like I can literally see it coming. I can see
no,
it.
but this happened last year with Nurse and Pirtle. Remember that Utah game,
Yeah,
Pirtle's first
yeah.
game, and they sat him on the
Chris
bench.
Zazu was going
we, we
crazy
we
about
also
that.
didn't play Coloco either.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're
That
not
didn't
allowed to
make
play
no
him,
sense.
Man,
especially against Milwaukee. You
You
didn't
have a
play him
team
against
with
him.
like what at that point they had like 4 7-footers. It's like nah, we're good.
No,
this.
pretty good.
Precious, you got this.
Oh man,
Okay, so let me go.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
You can rip on
let's
this front office all day.
yeah, front office is like a comedy of jokes, man. You can write a book. I can't wait for the book that comes out on this when these dudes actually leave.
It's
I'm
like
gonna,
sideshow Bob stepping on the rake, but he keeps. I
yeah,
think I made put that on the screen before
right.
in
I
a
hope
but yeah.
Lil or somewhere like Grange does a book on this part of the Raptors
You say
franchise.
Grady?
No, Grange.
Oh, I was like, I mean,
Grange's got time. You might go to write a book and do a podcast.
He could do a podcast on
he
this.
didn't play
Yeah.
tonight, people.
I know. We got Thad out there playing 25 minutes. We can't get Grady 5.
Thad's out there huffing and
Yeah.
puffing. He hadn't played in so long. The last game, he almost ran into the scorer's table trying to bring the ball up the court.
Yeah, God forbid you play the kid who can space the floor for you. God forbid.
I still can't believe he ran so fast.
I know how bad your roster is that Thad Young up like 38 is going to be out there hustling around there wheezing.
Listen. All respect to Thad Young. I think he's like I actually remember him way back on Indiana and stuff like that. But like it's like if you're not, he hasn't even like I don't even know if he's conditioned that way because like he even said he's like I prepare for this type of minutes.
Right.
I don't prepare like Pascal, so he ain't ready for 25 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad in some ways, man. That's how bad our roster is. We got played
man.
for 25 minutes because 2 fringe rotation players got traded. Like that's how bad the roster is. Okay, let me go, Coach.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's play this out as if Siakam's on the team at least the trade deadline because we know they like to do white papers. So always vote out for a trade next day. Act like they talk about some other, act like they talk about Phoenix or something like that. No, we don't do things like that.
No, this is for Messiah. This is his 7th day. It's a rest day.
So I'm pretty sure that this team at least will be at the trade deadline. We can also assume let's play safe. Let's assume I can't believe he would do this, but there's always a possibility. Let's assume Quickley, Barrett, Siakam, Barnes, and Pirtle are your starting lineup. Let's see.
You can't even say it with a straight face. You don't know if it's going to happen.
You can't say it with conviction.
Yeah. Let me go on crazy.
I'm sorry, I'm crying.
Let me go on crazy.
Sorry, Coach. I'm sorry. We're you're trying to make a serious point. We're not being serious.
No, you can't say it with conviction because you're right.
So what does this look like here, man? What do you think, Coach? What do you think with that starting lineup?
What you just said should be the starting lineup. Like you have a 24-year-old point guard who was averaging 20. I saw the numbers tonight: 23, 5, and 5 when he starts. Well, if he's getting 5 assists, and Scottie's good for 5 or 6 assists, and Siakam's good for 5 or 6 assists, that's an additive skill. That's passing. This is good. So I would start him. I think that starting lineup just has more balance too in it moving forward. You finally get that guy he's just going to be such a threat offensively going downhill. You could run more of those. I want to see him and Barnes in pick and roll, but we all know it's going to be Pirtle. I'm just saying.
I actually don't mind it. Actually, it now makes sense.
It makes a bit more sense.
Yeah.
I think.
To be fair, it makes sense.
And look, RJ can set up in the corner just like OG did. 38% from 3 from the corner. He can do the same thing. I do trust him dribbling the ball more, though. Give him that.
But that's the element I think that people are not realizing. Everyone's worried about the defense, but my part is like he's not only be able to hit the three, which is fine, but he can make something out of nothing from the corner. So he
Yep.
can actually make a play for someone else. Or he could do the pull up in this case as well, too. He has a little more to his game that he can add dimensions where guys can play off of him when someone closes him out. It doesn't have to be a straight line drive and stuff like that. So I think there's elements that will open up for other guys like Barnes and Siakam because of the ability you're talking about these two guys that I am looking forward to seeing. Hopefully the coach doesn't get in the way too much, but we'll see.
Yeah, there was a part tonight Leo Routen or Sam Mitchell had brought up in tonight's game about RJ and that pressure coming home, playing in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And Leo Routen corrected him right away. He said, if you can play in New York and handle it there just fine, you can handle it here just fine. I thought that was a great point because we all know RJ and Tibbs
Yeah.
at times. I think it's the best way to put it. RJ and Darko is a completely different personality than Tibbs. Coaching wise, I'm not giving him that, certainly. But I think RJ will have a sense of more freedom than he's probably ever had in his NBA career to date, playing for a coach. So, in that sense, it could be beneficial to him.
What do you think, Kenyon? Like, what's your thoughts, man? Because I mean, the
Well,
forward pick and roll is interesting. I'll just put it that way.
yeah. So, jeez, I'll start off by talking about OG very quickly. So, we did lose an All NBA defender. That's very important to point out. And in terms of the guy that is the quote unquote perfect complement to Barnes, if he plays that role and if he accepts it and if it's paid at the right price, yes, we did lose that. OG, when he's locked in, he can give you a solid 15, I don't know how many rebounds and a couple of assists and stuff like that. But in terms of the defensive end, he's one of the best one-on-one defenders in the league, honestly. Now, part of that is we had a defensive coach that used him in a particular way. I think we're seeing that kind of bear out, but I still think that yes, in terms of the way that he locks in and he can still do that, he's there. He's definitely there without question. So the Knicks got one from that standpoint, but we answer a couple questions. I'm gonna talk about this in reverse order in terms of who I think is the biggest piece in this deal, and I'm gonna start with RJ. No offense to him, but I think Quickley is really the centerpiece of this deal from a Raptors standpoint. RJ's on a really good contract. The final year of his contract is, I think, $29 million. He's making a 23 or 4 this year.
He's got
7 and
Yeah.
I think,
yeah.
So I think it's like
3 years and 82 million left on that deal.
Yes. So it's a pretty good deal that he's on. It's cheaper than like him and potentially the other guy, Quickley, who is also an RFA. So you have much more security in terms of being able to keep him. It's a benefit because you don't have to negotiate contracts in the same way for an RJ for a couple years, which is really, really nice. And it's a really good contract.
Especially for this front office.
Especially with this front office. Yeah. And I think with RJ, I think the fact is there's a point that I want to get to later on about the fact that he wants to be here that you guys brought up before we started talking that I think is a very important part, but I will get to that in a second. I think the fact is that he's marketable. I think that type of stuff is important to a front office that really cares about media presence. I think the fact is that he can get to the hoop and get to the he can get to the rim and he finishes at a decent clip overall. I'm not saying he's a perfect player, people, but I think he's not bad at all, especially offensively. And he's still only 23 years old. He's still really young, which is, I think now you can reasonably say if he actually starts playing Grady that you have a decent young core. Even if they did nothing else, you now have shifted from being what the fifth oldest to maybe, well, part of it is it's skewed because you have two dudes who are like over 35 on the roster, to be fair, but you are now the seventh oldest. Now if you got rid of one of that or Garrett, it probably skews a lot younger, to be fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have a 19-year-old, a 22-year-old, a 23-year-old, and a 24-year-old all on the roster,
And their 24-year-old, if he gets his lungs right.
and another 24-year-old at some point. I'm not counting them out.
Yeah,
That's
sometimes
Coloco
we forget
people.
about him, and like really,
Yeah,
he's
but
the guy that really would solve a lot of problems.
but in my mind, for now, he's
Yeah.
just doesn't. I don't want to get my hopes up for this, for him to be here, because I am really high on him, but you just don't know, from the health standpoint, if he's okay or not. I mean, he's around. You see him in practice and stuff like that. There's no new reporting from that standpoint. So yeah, RJ can play make as well. I mean, one of the things that I really liked about him with Team Canada, even when he struggled, is he never shied away.
Mhm.
That's something that we don't really always have. I think Siakam doesn't mind deferring. This is why I always get confused when people are like, "Oh, Siakam needs to give up the ball." It's like, if anything, he should probably be like, "Yo, dude, like, what are you doing, Precious?" Or Flynn, he doesn't have to do that anymore. And sometimes even Barnes said that occasionally, where it's like, dude, like, give us the ball. Like, what are you doing? We're trying to share the ball here. I'm not saying that he's a chucker. Neither dude is a chucker. I don't think they're selfish players. I hate the fact that I have to use that term even. And at the same time, I think you have these, from a Barrett standpoint, he doesn't shy away. He doesn't, and we saw that. Sorry, I might have said the Olympics, but the World Cup qualifiers. But that's a big tournament, especially for Canada. It's the first time they qualified for the Olympics, and he was, not saying he was the biggest part. No, that was Shea. Let's be honest. And Dylan Brooks, but he played a big part, and he played a big part throughout there. He's played some big games throughout his career, so I expect him to, really do well here in some way, shape, or form. And I do think that he's going to outplay that contract, since everyone wants to focus on contracts and money and stuff like that. I think he has a good chance of outplaying that for sure,
I
100%.
don't know why people are worried about other people's money, man. Like if Rogers and Bell want to spend that money, that's up to them. They want to spend the money. Like why are we worried about? We're like the eighth most valuable franchise in the NBA. People talk about we're like some sisters of the poor.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is a lot of this comes down to not. Well, I think a lot of it comes down to, like, people don't trust the front office to make moves at the correct times, which is a very fair critique. So if you don't do that, going over, people misunderstand. Going over the first apron's fine, which we're not over that, but it's more about going over the second apron where it gets dangerous. The second apron is where you lose future picks and stuff is locked up and you can't make trades, which we can't make trades for 3 years anyways in terms of our pick equity until we convey the pick. So yeah, I'll get to that actually really quickly before I go too quickly, which is our pick equity. I don't think that we are going to be keeping the pick. I don't think that is what is their plan this year, because if you do, you run into a couple problems. The problem number one is that then the next 2 years after that, you can't trade the pick. So any sort of move, say you've solidified Scottie Barnes is a top 5 player in the NBA, right? That kind of thing. Okay, sure. But then it's like, okay, to go get a guy, you want to move some of your picks, and then you're talking about 2028, 2029, 2030, okay? For a lot of teams that are going to want a rebuild because they're going to probably be giving you a star, well, there's some challenges there, right? Because now they don't want 2030. They don't want dudes that are in kindergarten. Right? Like, now you're like, okay, who recently retired and has a son that's like relatively, whatever. It's like, we're talking about the Boozer twins. It's like, okay, did, Ilgauskas have kids, or, Boobie Gibson or something? I don't know.
We got one James right now. A second one coming who might be better than the other one's already playing.
Yeah, hey, but 2030's past that. He's gone.
He's gone right at that point.
He's gone. Right? By that time, LeBron's definitely he's hung up the cleats, or the shoes. So this is something to keep in mind. bottom line, and we don't have to get into it today. I don't think that they're going. I think that they're going to assess for the next month in terms of major moves, and by major I mean to the core. I don't think that they've ever seen Gary as part of the core in the same way. So just people who are in the we have to blow it up camp, which I'm fine either way. You have to be fine with that. Okay, let's talk about quickly.
I want to say something about RJ Barrett first.
Go for it.
So RJ Barrett, for his career, he's averaging 18 points, 5 rebounds, about 3 assists. OG Anunoby, for his career, 11 points, 4 rebounds, a little over 1 assist. Barrett's a better rebounder for his career so far. He's a better passer. He's a better scorer. He's only 23. In his 3rd season, he averaged 20 points per game. OG ever hit that? Nope. Now, is OG more efficient than RJ? Yeah. Is he better defender than RJ? Yeah. But Quickley certainly is intriguing. Probably the more intriguing one of this. But RJ can score. He can play. Some people are viewing him as like, kind of like he's chopped liver or something like that. This is a good NBA player. Very young too. He's only 23. He's really young. I think he's got one of those September birthdays, stuff like that. So he's always been like one of the younger ones and stuff like that. And I think this is the right fit for him right now in this point in his career. I think you're going to get a really good version of RJ Barrett moving forward. I'm not saying all-star per se, but I do think you're going to get a very highly motivated RJ Barrett coming here.
Well, to add, as you said, like the past 3 seasons, he hasn't been under 8. This is actually the lowest scoring season that he's had yet. Well, at least from an overall efficiency standpoint, from like if you focus on the 3-point shot, he's shooting better from 3, although his efficient field goal percentage is technically down. But he's also from the standpoint of a free throw percentage, he's way up. So, but yeah, 18, 19.6, and 20 is the past 3 years, starting with this going backwards. Beyond, you were going to say something before we get to Quickly.
No, I think the thing with RJ too is that in this style of play, which is we want to get out and run, and Knicks don't really get out and run. Like he's gonna get like his athleticism now will actually be now something that they can really you get to use it in its full in full blossom. Let's put it this way, because right now in New York he's sitting there spotting up. And that's it, just waiting for like double teams from Randall and Brunson. Now he's gonna get an opportunity to get out and run. Like
Where did we see this?
Well, we saw it at the World Cup in
That's
FIBA.
it.
Right.
That's it. He got out and ran. And when he was out running and on the fast break, going left all the time, he was very tough to stop.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be at least him getting about 2 dunks or layups a game where he's just going to be out there running. And he's got some big wings that can set him up too. So it's not like he's going to be sitting there having to have someone feed him the ball every second. He's got some wings that will just get out and just push it. That's what they want to do. So both of these players play into that more so. So that's fascinating from that standpoint.
Yeah, 83% from the free throw line this year, which is a big jump. That's a 10% jump from what he had last year. RJ's not known to be a good free throw shooter, but this year, like you said, Kenyon, he's getting to the line about 5 times a game and stuff like that. At 83%, we're one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the league, if not the worst. We'll take 83%.
But that other stat you mentioned is even more important, Coach, I think. 5 times a game.
Yep. He's around 5 times per game.
Is there anybody else besides who in this case that gets you 5 or more free throw attempts a game on this team? As it was constituted before yesterday?
I hear peepers, so I'm guessing no.
No, exactly. No, nobody. So you now have 2 guys that get you 5 free throws a night over that here. Sky's getting closer, but he's not quite there yet. So now you have 2 guys. Quickley, in this case, is a guy I'm not sure, but he attacked the hoop. I think he's a guy that can probably creep up more too. I'm not sure what his free throw attempts are per game.
I I don't have that. I know in his last
Oh, we'll
3
get into
games,
it. Don't
he's
worry.
100%
Hey,
in his
hey,
last
quickly,
3
man. You
games.
know him. He's licking his chops for this. So get on that IQ tip, man. Here you go, Kenyon.
First of all, we're
I
sorry,
know this
coach.
this
Sorry,
guy.
coach, but
This
you know,
wondering guy, man.
step aside just for a second.
Sure.
We we have a Kentucky guard, and I just want to say I wanted a Kentucky guard and a good one on this roster for the longest time, and I am just so happy. In terms of OG versus the other two, if people talk about advanced numbers, someone was talking to me about free throw rate, but they skipped out OG. OG gets to the line, free throw rate 14% of the time with his possessions. He rebounds at a 6.4%, and he assists other people, which is the amount of times he's giving the ball up, about 11% of the time. Not extremely high, and I believe OG's PER, for those of you who are very focused on advanced metrics, is 12.6, his player efficiency rating. Okay, so right now you're getting Quickley. He has a PER of basically a shade under 17 with 16.9. Okay. In terms of his assist rate is around 15%, which is actually pretty decent. Especially since he's more of like a firecracker off the bench for the Knicks. He has a very interesting role on the Knicks per se, but I'm actually curious to see what his free throw rate and these numbers are just in the times when he started without Brunson. That's the real interesting thing that I think people need to dig into. But the other thing is that he rebounds at around the same rate as OG, as a guard, as a 6'3 guard, which, by the way, 6'3, amazing, because it's a lot bigger than what we normally have for guards. It's the first time we've had a guard over 6 foot, like one, I would say. I'll be generous to the NBA measurements that they say that Dennis is. So
Right?
yes, yes. And it's just, the other thing that I will say before, just to quickly mention the other guy in the trade, because we're going over advanced metrics again, 14.3, which is higher than 12 or whatever. I said that OG's is. Now I'm not saying that they're better players right now, because I don't think that RJ Barrett is the player that OG is. That's not what I'm saying. And I think that Quickley is the crown jewel of this specific trade for Masai. I'm just pointing certain things out because I think it's important. RJ Barrett rebounds the ball decently well, 8%, so it's lower, but he passes the ball pretty well. Around 13% of the time, and free throw rates 32% of the time. So basically, more than double OG in terms of that. This guy, Mr. Quickley. Now, here's the interesting part about Quickley. His pull-up threes, as well as his catch and shoot, are both over 40%, and he does them around the same rate. For reference, Scottie, who's having a career shooting year, from catch and shoot is shooting 44%, but from pull-ups is shooting 26. Now you have a real pull-up threat. When people say pull-up, they don't mean Scottie Barnes. No offense, he's just not there yet. Scottie Barnes is a catch and shoot there, but a pull-up threat now you have. Quickley also gets to the rim and finishes at the rim at a pretty decent rate. Someone compared him to another Kentucky guard, Tyrese Maxey. And I think it's not quite there in terms of the speed, because Maxey's on a different level, but he's a fairly dynamic guard by comparison. So I think he's got some juice. I'm interested to see what he does. Without Brunson, the Knicks had a pretty decent record and performed pretty well, and there's a reason why they're going to miss this guy. This isn't me trying to shade the guy that went out. I'm just saying, like, people are really focused on the defense when we were abysmal for defense for a while.
Well, this is an interesting point, right? Because the defensive numbers, which hasn't really been discussed, everyone's been focused on the offense. And everyone's defensive metrics have gone down pretty much this year. Even OG's, as much as everyone, when we say defensive numbers, that OG's a defensive stalwart type player, we're talking about OG of the past. If we talk about OG currently this year, he's been pretty mediocre at best. And you can say, well, a lot of Raptors Now, that's a whole other discussion about how the coach will actually implement this defense with these two guys involved now. Because to me, he has not shown in this case here he can get the best out of any of the personnel when it comes to defense. There's been nobody else can see on this rock says, you know what, they've gotten better defensively. No, it started off pretty well with Scottie early in the season, but it's pretty much gone woo, just like everybody else's. So that's a whole nother discussion that when the time comes. I'm not sure we want to have it now or we want to kind of have a little idea because after today's game in Detroit, that defense was rough, guys. Okay. But
Rough.
let's talk about the fall. I would be curious to get your thoughts about the fall, the kind of like, I guess the fallout of this trade and how it works from a rotational standpoint. Because now, in a way, we have more talent. That's a little more depth of the talent now. It should be because now we actually have two guys in this case that actually could pass, dribble, and shoot, and that moves other guys back a little further now. And I think right now, I think the big gaping hole for this roster at this moment, and this might be the other deal coming up. I know everyone's looking for a particular type of deal, but this may not be the deal you think it's going to be. I think that obviously, even looking at tonight, you need to get yourself some bigs. You got to find yourself a center.
Ironically, still the problem.
Still got to find a center. Boy, gotta love this roster. As we were teasing about Thad, God bless him, but we need a center. We need a center, a couple bigs maybe. And there's a deal that's sitting on that floor I was looking at tonight that's a possibility. It could be interesting. I'll just put it that way.
Do you like Stu at all?
Well, I mean, he's one possibility. You're definitely gonna get the green.
Something hardy.
He's one possibility. I mean, but the other thing is, I mean, even a Bagley, I'd be intrigued by in this case here. Like one of the two, I think would be at least something.
Not Wiseman, please, not Wiseman.
Oh no,
please, not Wiseman.
I said Stewart.
I've told you from time. I'm like, I don't like.
I know. Wiseman's too far away at this point.
I remember a lot of people were trying to trade Siakam for Wiseman for the longest time. I was like, you guys are not understanding
and to be
this.
fair, put my Detroit hat on. Wiseman has made some steps. I'm not saying, but he's nowhere near something where you want to put him out there for 25, even 30 minutes. But I think if you got a deal with Bagley, I would be open to that. It's like Bagley could be no worse than what we have here, and he's still a fairly young player. And even shooting threes, Bagley, I remember we did the comp with him and Precious last year. He was shooting threes better clip than Precious. He was shooting at 31, 30, 32%. If you got a center can just do that, if someone like 0%, like even that even helps a little bit. Like so, shot blocking threat a little bit, but it's no worse than our center situation right now. We got to play Thad Young 25 minutes a night because that can't continue. We can't play Boucher out there. That can't continue. So there's another deal that needs to be done right now if you want to get the full breadth of what this team could look like. Unless a particular person's coming back, with the lung stuff in this case here. Unless that is what we're saying as well too. Maybe that's what they're saying as well too. They feel confident to make this deal.
If that's the case, then this makes all the sense in the world. Then, because right now, as we watch this team, we just, God bless Thad. If this was Thad 10 years ago, then maybe so, but you're not going to be able to play him 25 minutes a night behind Pirtle, Boucher. You're not a center, man, and there's just too many defensive lapses I find with him on the floor. You're going to have to go out and find someone soon. Especially if this is starting to click with these four guys, with Quickley, with Barrett, with Scottie, with Siakam, and you're just missing some interior defense and maybe guy who can just stretch the floor out a little bit as well. Then you gotta go find that guy. I don't know who it is right now, truthfully. Like you said about Beef Stew, maybe so. If it may be for the right price, or Bagley. Bagley played with Trent at Duke. Bagley's also in that timeline. I think he's 24 years old or something like that. So be interesting over the next few weeks because if they want to give this a month before the deadline to try, you need to go get a big. You have to go get someone else. You can't judge this without at least another big in there.
Mm-hmm. Now, there is also a roster spot open, too. So, yep. I mean, that might be another indication. I mean, I'm hoping. I mean, I'm being positive. But if Koloko is really close to the being thing, is he the guy that's sitting and keeping that slot open for? I don't know. Or is it possibly a 1-for-2 trade?
Well,
That
I mean, Koloko has a roster spot guaranteed though.
Oh yeah, true. So is it the Porter kid that's coming up? You can put that spot for. Like I mean, like there's it's interesting what they'll do with that extra spot now. Do they make a trade to get a couple extra guys in this case for one guy? I don't know, but that is something that to watch for as well too. But as is, so you have our starting lineup. So that means now our second unit now is Schroeder, Trent Jr. for the moment. The front court, Boucher would be involved in that. Now we're getting into McDaniel seems to be in this rotation now, so that's 4. Do we go 10 deep?
Can Grady buy a minute?
I'm saying, can Grady get some time? I see about.
Can the man? Can he get 5 minutes? Can he get 5 minutes? That's all.
Him and Otto Porter, they don't get any minutes.
Yeah, I think once again we're in the situation where it comes down again to Otto Porter Grady minutes, and I think at that point here, based on the mindset of Masai in this front office, Otto's going to get this. He's going to get the benefit first, and I think Otto will get that. So I think Otto, McDaniels, Boucher, plus the 2 guards I mentioned, your second 5 at this point.
We a little thin up front with McDaniels and Boucher.
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah, figuratively and literally. Yeah, I mean that's what are you going to do when you're Al Horford's in the game, right? Or Bobby Portis.
Some of these this West trip coming up, man. You got Big Z sitting there just licking his chops there for breakfast, and you got AD and them boys in LA just licking their chops. Hachimura, they're like, oh boy, time to get some PBs out here.
You know what's a Masai move? JV. I'll leave it at that. Sorry, Coach.
True. He likes to bring back the band. So.
Yeah, he does.
He likes to bring back the band.
So I guess now the question is, when Pirtle's not on the floor, I guess Scottie's going to get those small ball 5 minutes. So he's gone from playing the 3 to point guard to going to be playing to backup center.
Someone made a point about this. I can't remember who it was. I want to give credit. I think it was when I was listening to Will Liu and Alex Wong, their banter discussion. And I think it was them. And the point they made, which is a really good point, or maybe it was Samson. Well, I'll give it whoever it was, made a point like, the years of like Pascal playing, quote, center minutes. We don't know how much that's impacted him in this case here as far as his physical ability to kind of really play the defense he wants to play anymore.
That's how his shoulder got jacked up.
Right. You got to start thinking to yourself, like, like you're doing this as Scottie now too. Like you're playing a very dangerous game and you don't want to be making the same mistakes again. Just get ourselves some bigs so that those guys don't have to play those type of minutes anymore. Because God knows what it's done to Siakam. Like, from a standpoint of how his movement is, defensively and stuff like that. I'm not saying that he can't get better defensively at times. I think he's a guy in this case that kind of floats in this case here. And once he's locked in and there's like, if it's winning time, he's a different dude. But if he's out there and it's like, he can lose concentration. No 2 ways about it. But there's a bigger issue with this team when it comes defensively, because as I said before, no one's looked good defensively on this team. Nobody.
No.
So yeah, that to me is gonna be because that 5 can't work. It can't work. And I think you can see the guys have to move in order to get the big you want, in order for Grady to get the minutes, because that's the other thing too, right?
Like at least someone who can like kind of play two roles. You mentioned Jalen Smith. Would be a good example. I'll bring up Kelly Olynyk again. These aren't like, I don't think the perfect guy exists out there for us right now. On a team that actually makes real logistical sense. DeJounte Porter is hopefully he gets some run, but he's also skinny. So
You need a little more beef. I mean, if that means that beef stew, they need some beef out there, and I think.
You need a Naz Reid, like that's almost it's not available, but that's kind of like what you need. You need like a true Naz, like that type of a dude. Precious wasn't gonna cut it long term either, and I've been saying that because he's not that tall, and he's like the focus isn't always there. When it is there, it's great. When it's not, it's like ugh. So I think that's kind of what you need, or like hypothetically, I don't see the trade out there for it. Coach and I were talking a little bit about different moves that could be, but It would actually be Sarge. Sarge would be nice on this team.
I like him in free agency, man.
Yeah,
Remember I
me
said
too.
I said we need one more dude, a big man can shoot threes. I
I
threw out.
wanted him last year. The deadline said, out, give me Shamit, give me Sarge for
I
Trent.
had
At the time, I
Sean,
did say that.
I had Olynyk in a trade. I mean, PJ
Yeah.
Washington, just someone can shoot.
I
As a
don't know if
freshman,
it would Gafford be available.
he crossed my mind today.
Yeah.
I think that might be a possibility because since they're throwing out things with Tyus Jones,
Yeah.
Washington, the pool rumors have happened. They
Which
might
is
do.
funny because right after this was like right after Tyus Jones is like, I want to build something here. All this kind of stuff. Next day, it's like, ooh, you're in it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, no, no,
But
no, you're too comfortable here.
yeah, I really think that that's the move they got to make because even from this roster standpoint, if you want Grady to get minutes, you're going to have to move Otto. And honestly, I don't think Otto's worth it at this point for playing once every like 5 games.
Yeah, and you can't get another like you have to get someone who's like a little bit dynamic, like
Yeah,
you can't get like Clint Capella. Like that ain't gonna cut
no.
it.
And like Otto, I mean, quite honestly, I mean, I know everyone's like they like to say, "Oh, he's so smart." So yeah, no doubt. But at some point, you got to score the ball, man. Like I mean, he
Yeah.
scored 6 points the other night. I mean, he went for like about 6 weeks without scoring a point. That's ridiculous for a guy. And that part of it, I think, it has to do with the offensive setup, but part of it's him too, because he's just not reliable enough to be on the court.
Yeah.
And when he's out there, he's just kind of just moving guys around, but he's not actually looking to be assertive. So
Gafford is making under 15 million over the next 3 years. 12 million this year, 13 next year, 14 next year. He's only 25 too, and he's physical. We know that. I mean, he's a little bit liability defensively, but at the same time, if you get him for reasonable pieces, maybe that's an option coming back. Because you're going to need some size. You're going to need some physicality somewhere. You can't move forward with Hurdle, and that's already been in itself a thing this year where it's been tough defensively.
Yeah. It's either that or as Beyond says, you get the CPAP machine out and all that kind of stuff. You make
Well,
and a canister of oxygen and whatever else you need to do and whatever antibiotics, whatever you want to call it. Get Coloco on a court, even if can you give me 5 minutes? Kind of a
yeah,
thing.
he's
Charles
really,
Smith.
yeah, he's the guy right now that's really he's the big what if because if he was able to play this year, I wonder how many of these things that we're talking about would be resolved in some form or fashion.
I mean, it'd be great if he came back soon, um, for that exact reason.
So
So yeah.
have we picked through this thing enough? Or you want to talk about the second round pick, which I think is kind
The
of a nice
second round pick is actually very interesting because number one, we get to talk
Sure.
about prospects, which we like to do.
No,
This is kind of how we started building an audience, and now we get to talk about prospects.
We're
So
back, audience. We're back at it. Back in the spring. Now
Hey.
we got to pick.
Careful now, we might trade that thing away.
these dudes. they're like prosperity too much.
Grand opening, grand closing. Yeah. Jeez. Anyways, we are hopeful that we'll talk about prospects either way, to be honest. But now it's like prospects with a reason, because instead I was thinking of from an NBA and trying to match this to this team or that to that team. But you got to think a little bit more because I'm not as tuned in with all the other teams like I am with the Raptors. But now I can think about it in a different way. So we added a little bit to the war chest, which I think is good. It'll be interesting to see these lineups. I think Masai has bought himself time to now consider the Pascal move if he wants to do that. But as you guys are pointing out, I mean, it's funny enough, and I'm not saying that this is the perfect deal, but just in terms of like a quote unquote fit standpoint, shout out to Sam Vecini on this one, but it's like if you wanted to trade Pascal for a Karl Anthony Towns, if it was available, if the Wolves weren't as successful, it wouldn't be the worst idea. It's not a great idea. I'm not the biggest fan of Cat, but like, just from a fit standpoint, if you're worried about the offensive fit, that would, but it's not available.
They're worried about Pascal's defense. They ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, well, this is the other thing too, is that like people keep, people are in for a wild ride in a lot of different ways. Number one, from a point guard standpoint, it's like, everyone goes back to Lowry. I'm not saying Quickley's going to be better than Lowry or anything like that. All I'm saying is that like when you when you're fielding the stuff that we were fielding for as long as we were, it's like I said to people, it's like, going from Freddie Gillespie to like all of a sudden you have Kem Birch and think that he's a world beater. I'm not saying it's going to be the same because Quickly is a much better player than Kem Birch. No offense to Kem Birch, but what I am saying is that when suddenly you see competent basketball being played, even that, which he's better than just a competent basketball player, it shocks people. It really does. It gives people hope again, which is nice to see, nice to hear. Now, again, I don't quite think that they're ready for prime time on their own without any adult supervision, but that's a whole other discussion. Before we go into anything else, is there anything that I've missed from the trade standpoint that you guys want to cover, Coach, or beyond?
No, I think we just want to get to this week, which is going to be a fun week, and let's
Yeah.
see what plays out.
Well, I have one question for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Just obviously, we haven't seen this team play, but are we a better team today than we were 10 hours ago before the deal was made? Just as is.
Yes.
Yes, and
Yeah.
beyond?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think I don't think we're completely done yet. I said before, that backup center, just the center position, makes me nervous. It's not sustainable.
Yeah, and you can't go a whole month without that either.
You can't go a whole month. Even the trade deadline, even assume that Siakam doesn't get moved and we go right at the end of the year. You can't play with this roster with Pirtle and whatever in the back. That can't happen. So a deal has to happen, to get you to fish you some type of front court help. So
do you think it happens on the 5th?
Don't tease me. I honestly, actually, to be fair to him, I would say even though I got my magic marker sitting there, red magic marker for the 5th. Honestly, the ideal move would be moving some of the other guys instead of like Crit Jr. and Boucher will probably be my things to get the front court player you need.
Like again, I think basically this is like you have to, in a way, this is forcing Masai to kind of clean up the bench mess.
The messes, yeah. And I would even throw Porter in there because I just don't see really a purpose for Porter in the right now for this team.
No, I mean, in a way, as you guys have alluded to, he kind of like stands in the way of Gray's minutes right now, which is kind of silly. Because again, Darko kind of sees him, I guess, as a small forward or whatever. Because Darko's not very imaginative with how he views roles. So, I mean, that's a whole other discussion for another day that we will kind of continue to talk about and monitor the LinkedIn activity that this guy does. But aside from that, I do think that yeah, we need to, because I just looked briefly at like who's out there from a free agent standpoint. Yeah,
No,
there's no one, and I don't think DeJounte or Dejounte Porter, who I believe is a two-way.
Yeah,
Yes.
Just keep him as a two-way now. Bring him up without having to waste the It's actually for a front office that likes to be cheap. There's your cheap option.
Right, like I don't know why you don't throw the kid out there for a second unit. Like like how is that hurting anything right now?
Ask the coach.
What's better? Like I mean, true, you'll make some defensive mistakes in this case here, but him or Thad Young, at least he has the ability to get better. Thad Young is what he is at this point, but.
Like people say, oh, now people are like, oh, the latest excuse is Darko's an average coach. This is what a lot of people are saying. It's an average coach. So we spent 2.5 months to hire someone who is not special.
Well, it's not just him too. It's the staff. Everybody's a rookie on this staff.
Mm-hmm.
So when people say about like we're trying to win, but we have a rookie staff, that's not Adrian Griffin or Earl Watson Jr., who, these are guys that have been on championship staff, who played in the NBA. So it's not just Darko at the same time. It's this whole staff, too. Like, Darko probably had the most NBA experience, and next it's probably, I don't even know who. Jama, maybe?
Pat Delaney, I guess.
Defensive stents in Charlotte and Washington.
Yeah.
Run the defense for them. Okay.
Yep.
That's what we got now.
Well, let's get. Do you want to get on to the rest of the week, man? We picked over this bird enough for tonight.
Yeah, sorry, people. I'm trying to be
Sorry,
positive here.
guys. Yes.
We're getting the Packer lady discussions. Yeah, we can move on.
Okay, so this upcoming week, just so people know, we start on New Year's Day, actually, which I can't remember the last time we had a New Year's Day game. Um, so that's going to be Cleveland. Then on Wednesday, we're going to
You know,
have.
man, we had
Sorry?
one. I had one because I had an event in this case. Like usually, sometimes I have something at the house. I remember when it was Bucks Raptors New Year's Day.
I see. Was that in the We the North era?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember because I remember folk were watching the game during. Yeah, that was the last one I remember.
So yeah, we actually have a full slate of games. So we go from Sunday to Sunday. Or technically Monday to Sunday, but so Cavs, then Grizzlies, and then Friday we're gonna have the Kings, and then the Warriors. So the schedule is now getting a little bit tighter and tougher again, just as we get for the Sharks to eat. Um, but I think it's good. It's I don't have any predictions for what we how we're gonna do, but what I will say is, as coach has pointed out several times, season starts today for Darko.
Well, okay, what we got here? Cavs, Grizzlies, Kings, and Warriors, huh?
Kings is a win, I'll say.
Yeah, we always match up well with Sacramento.
They
That's the
they
one.
have no rim defense. That's the thing. That's the trick.
Yeah. So yeah, Sacramento. Yeah, Pascal eats them up. So let me see here.
Scotty too, because I think early on in the season and even in the preseason, that's where he had one of his best games.
Yeah, I would say Sacramento to win. Okay, I'm gonna go with. Okay, I'm gonna go 2-2.
I'm guessing the Cavs are the other win.
I think so. I know what I said.
Because
No, I would say no. I think it's the back half. I think they get the last 2 wins.
okay, is Garland still out, right?
Still out, but I
And
think
then Mobley's out too.
I think a little adjustment period here with the new guys, so I think it's gonna be a little rough.
Okay.
So I give the loss against Cleveland, but I think by the end of the week against the Warriors and Kings, I think they get 2 W's there. And I think Memphis is always an interesting game. It's a flip flop game, but that man's come back with vengeance, man. He's taking no prisoners. I mean, like, good gosh. Oh man, I want to know right now what's gonna look like, man. I hope Quickly's point of attack defense is on point. That man's coming out here looking for blood. Okay.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jaw's ready, and
Case y'all
he has a
forgot.
motor, folks. Just so you know.
Just in case you folks forgot, he said like that man's looking for blood, man.
Yeah,
Coach.
he's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So we have the 4 games. Is that what it is?
Yep.
Cleveland, Memphis, Sacramento, Golden State. Gee, that's a good question. We'll go 2-2. I think we'll beat Cleveland. I think we'll beat Sacramento. Uh, I really want to say 3-1 and say we're going to take down Memphis. I just can't because that guy, John Morant's really good. The Golden State one is interesting because they're not the Golden State of old, but they're still Golden State. And last year on the West Coast, we actually had a really good West Coast trip last year. I remember just before the deadline. I think we went 4-2 or something like that. Which at that time,
that Warriors game got away from us. I remember that game.
Yeah.
Is Draymond in counseling still?
Yeah. Because that Sacramento game, we played arguably the best game to play all season, defensively and offensively. We just destroyed them in Sacramento. And the next night, we're playing Golden State, and we had them dead to rights. And late in the game, I can't remember, it started unraveling in the fourth quarter a little bit,
Yeah. I'm very curious over this next 4 games what the guard play is going to look like with Quickley and Schroeder, because you're going to be able to play them both together at the same time too, because they're both. I know, Beyond, you've said this a bit about Schroeder, and I've seen it too. Like, he's a pretty good defender, like one-on-one defender. Like he moves his feet and stuff like that. He's just small. Quickley's pretty much the same, except Quickley's a little bit bigger, so he can kind of guard some twos and stuff like that. This is a guard-driven league, and the next 4 games, I like for us to start out in a good spot. We go 3-1, we go 2-2. That's fine. it's better than what we've been doing lately.
I just hope that this coach doesn't give us any surprises because this coach finds a way to kind of start gumming up the works. I'm hoping and praying he's not gumming up the works when it's all said and done, right? That's why I hope. Because when it's all said and done, like the five at the end of the day, you're right. I guarantee you, Schroeder's going to be at the end of the game. Pearl will be out and Schroeder will be that fifth man late in games. And that's going to be fascinating to watch, right? Because is Schroeder going to be off the ball and kind of mind his manners, or he going to be out here trying to run things again? And
does that work with Quickley though?
But that's what I'm saying. If that starts happening quickly, it's like, dude, what are we doing out here? And that's what makes me nervous because I know this coach. I watched 30 games of this nonsense.
You heard what Sampson said after the post game, or
No.
he said if he's playing Schroeder over Quickley, he's gonna go every single presser and start asking. He's just what are we doing?
What are we doing?
But this is the deal that Masai and them have made. I think like they have Quickley in for the long term. You might as well start him now.
Yep.
Get it over with. And he deserves it, I think, too, honestly.
Yes, he's a better player. Like,
by far.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, don't mess around because he's know the offense. He's know the same two plays that you run all the time.
It's not
he'll figure it out.
It's the last 5 minutes, coach, is my concern. Right? That's my concern because we know Pearl's already got issues. So that means he might not be playing the last minute. He's going to put Schroeder in there. And what does that look like with the other dudes? That's the scenario I'm talking about. Boston is what I'm talking about. 5 minutes left, right?
So in that last 5 minutes, then you're saying is Quickley, Schroeder, Barrett, Siakam, and Barnes.
There you go. That's likely going to be because Pearl.
That's not terrible.
No, terrible, but it's small.
Terrible. It's
actually, now that I'm thinking about it, like I hear what you're saying. Like you're like who's like has the chutzpah.
No, it's not the chutzpah. It's more like, is this coach going to allow Schroeder to do the nonsense he's been doing for the first 30 games? That's the point I'm saying. If he can start doing that,
I don't know how quickly he's going to handle. Like this is what I'm saying is like quickly. Someone might have to have a chat. You know, this might play out like in real time, kind of a thing.
Yes, pretty much. I hope so because obviously
it's like, dude, y'all brought me here for this nonsense.
And that's one thing I do appreciate with the two New York guys. They ain't gonna hold their tongue.
Yeah, because they've been through crap.
Right, yeah, they ain't gonna hold their tongue. Which there's too much of a nice guy quality about these dudes that are on this team. No one wants to offend anybody. For the most part, I know there's been some chewing out that happens in between timeouts, but for the most part, it's been pretty much tappy tap stuff. It ain't really nothing serious. But these two dudes, they ain't gonna be sitting around with this nonsense. Like, dude, who the hell is this dude? Like, hell no. So, like, I think that's my only concern. If Darko starts gumming up the works and running plays out of timeouts late in the game, and Schroeder's involved in it, Schroeder shouldn't be involved. He should just be spotting up somewhere.
Now, do they usually do pressers for like these type of things? I'm just curious, just because I know RJ coming here alone.
Yes.
Okay, so there will be some sort of introductory, like whatever, blase, probably, I don't know, tomorrow or when.
Yes, I think they said on TSN too. So there's gonna be all that type of stuff going on the next day or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously the NBA has to make sure it's okay. So we pray for good health for everybody. Especially when you got OG involved, you pray for good health for everybody, and no one's coming back. Because as Paul Jones said on NBA radio today, which is a great point, he says, my colleague over there, Alvin Williams, I forgot, that's how we got Alvin. And the Danny Fortson deal, good old Cincinnati Bearcat. In this case, he failed the deal. He failed the move. In this case, with Boston. And Alvin Williams, they said, we got to send him somewhere. Okay, we send him to Toronto. Things happen like this, man. So we pray, especially with OG's bones, we pray everything's okay.
I mean, to be honest, that's how, what's his name ended up in Portland, Brogdon.
There you go. It's another one. Yeah. And Brogdon, I think it's happened twice, I think. Did it? Like, it happened in that? Yeah. Brogdon, it's always a mess.
So, yeah, I mean, we will definitely see the teams have at least announced the different various players in different ways so far, and said thank you for your service to the other one. So yeah, really quickly in 5 minutes, do you guys want to talk about the Siakam implications of what this means, or you want to just talk about that another time? Or we can
But
talk about it offline. Sorry, audience. If you
yeah,
got
I mean, maybe that might be one of those after hours special, man. Like the Siakam discussion. I'm
that's
just
more rewind after dark.
after dark. Yeah, after dark. Like, I'm just so over it, man. Enough of it. I don't like. I find Raptor fans don't like to have nothing nice. They really don't.
No, and it's like I heard again. This isn't about calling people out, so that's not what I'm about. I just you hear funny things and people say funny things, or it's like Siakam is a non-factor, and then it's like you see a game like today, and it's like, bro, really,
I'm
really
just at the point where I'm just like,
a non-factor?
I just want to have some nice things. I just want to enjoy some things, man. Can I just enjoy it for a day or two of just having a trade of some nice young dynamic players? Yay! I don't want to know what's gonna happen next. And so we'll figure that out. We got days and weeks. Trust me, we know the Raptor fans. There's plenty of time for that. Can we just enjoy what we have? I like having a lot of talented players. It'd be nice to have a few of them. It's nice to have at least four of them.
It's like imagine getting like a Christmas present, and then like, but then your parents are like, hey, you're not allowed to open that.
Pretty much.
Yeah, we might have to take it back to the store. Actually, this is a good story. It is holiday time, so I'm gonna. So, my parents. I don't know if it's a Caribbean thing or not. So you can share your
No, you're
thoughts,
going this
and then
already, man.
yeah.
No, you're going.
Okay, so then it is.
Yeah, because when you said the analogy already, I was already thinking that already. Go ahead.
And coach, you could tell me your Christmas stories, but as a kid for Christmas, my parents would make us come down. We'd see the gifts here, so we look. Oh, yeah, that's our gifts. And then they said, "Nah, we have to have breakfast first. Then you have to clean up. Then you have to do this. Then you have to do that." And it's like not until the evening, practically, that it's like, and it's like torture. It's like I don't like now that I'm older. I'm like I don't even want to open the gifts. I'll be honest. This is like whatever. Like Christmas is just another day for me, right? But like it's like I see like my niece and nephew, they're still so, and I don't understand. I'm like I don't understand that excitement because I have to wait. That's what it feels like. Beyond, do you have a story? Coach, you can
No,
tell me
no,
if
I'm
you,
good. You pretty much spoke about my childhood. I'm good, man.
Coach,
Yeah,
have
I
you
can't.
experienced that?
I had that Nova Scotia experience. That's for sure. My birthday's Christmas Eve, as you guys know, so it was. I always get to open, I guess, a gift or two on Christmas Eve, and then you gift or two or a few more on Christmas Day. So
Did
I
you have
can't
to
say I had
wait?
this on
On
Christmas Day.
yeah, like when you wake up, do you go right to people
Oh
say
no. You get up, you open. So when you
you
were
see
telling me
beyond?
about
No.
that, um, there
Yeah.
is part of me that I definitely see where you're coming from and have no, I have an understanding of what you're saying based on someone very close to me.
Of course, of course.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, definitely share that story with that person because they'll understand.
this person might
Um,
understand. Yes,
it's always interesting to see how different cultures kind of treat those different things. But yeah, I'm curious if Scottie Barnes says that because he's Jamaican actually. So, with that being said, it's been fun. It's been good. People like, comment, subscribe. My computer is going to be in the shop for a little bit, so I don't know. We're going to try to do some episodes that are going to be live in a little bit of a different format. But if not, there's always one in the chamber. So, with that being said, take care and peace, everyone.